All right, Randy and I have just been kind of working. We didn't know what we were getting into, but we're going to walk around the corner right here. We've got one side of the disc brake conversion in place, run into a bunch of different little bitty problems, and we're going to discuss. I'll talk with you either in this video or the next about the kit that we bought. Parts of it were outstanding. We've run into a couple things that I think they could do better, and we'll talk about that. But nonetheless, you guys follow me around over here, and I'll show you exactly what we've got. All right, as you can see, there's the disc assembly. We've got the disc pads, comes with a new brake line. It's one complete unit as we hung it in. We've got new kingpins back here in the back, new caps. We greased everything up and got it looking good. When we open up the box, this is the assembly we've got. We didn't really have to bolt anything together. It was already pre-assembled, pre-lubed. Here on the back, we've got the brass bushings insert for the kingpin. And this is all the stuff that was taken out. The kingpin, if you notice these plastic bushings, there was actually one here and one here, and it slid down through this assembly right there. We were not and did not have to use, although they were supplied, we did not have to use the plastic bushings. The kingpins that were supplied with the kit along were cut and machined to the point we didn't have to use them in here. But again, I showed you the brass bushings that were in the new piece. This right here takes the place of the brass bushing in the old piece. And then obviously the complete drum was removed and obviously replaced by the new disc assembly. All right, I'm working on trying to get this disc assembly off. The other one that Randy had worked on seemed to come apart a lot easier. This one right here, everything is kind of corroded up. If you guys have ever taken a Ford front end apart, this is the cap that come off the kingpin. This is a 7/8 bolt, and as you can tell, everything was just really galled up really bad. I wasn't able to get a socket to work, 12 or 6 point. I was not able to get a wrench to work. Did everything I could, vice grips, whatever. I just didn't have any way to work with it other than I took out the grease fitting. I started out with a mid-size easy out, and I worked it down as far as it would go till it would bottom out, and then I had to go to the next size up. And this is what we wound up having to do. And of course, we had to put a little bit of heat on it with the butane torch here. But if you've never seen one of these things, if you're trying to get nuts out or things like this where they screw, it's the best thing in the world to have. But basically, you just put them in there and get them snug. You can tap them on the end to seat them or get them to make a bite, and then you just go about backing this thing out. the way that it's knurled and the way that it's turned, it's counterclockwise or clockwise to you turning counterclockwise, so it goes in and bites, and you can work the thing out. Again, tapping it with a hammer, putting the heat to it, got some WD-40 down here, just keep working it. Eventually the thing will come loose, and as you can tell, there's not but about 2.5 threads on this thing, so there's not a lot that holds them in place on a good day, but it was certainly stuck. I'm guessing these kingpins and stuff hasn't been taken out probably since the late 70s, early 80s, so I got quite a battle on my hands here. I might as well move that before I go any further because I'm thinking to knock it off. All right, let me give you a little bit of a tip here. When you're doing these type of conversions, and ultimately we're going to have to bleed the brake system, but you can help yourself and not make it quite as bad. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me get my light around here, but there's the brake line that's coming into the back of the drum. Leave that thing hooked up as long as you possibly can, okay? Then get everything in position on your new assembly, and then switch them over. Well, we've got a new airline, listen to me, a new brake line for the new assembly. But leave this thing in place, move it around, hang it, because otherwise it's just going to drain out on the floor, make a mess. And in my case, the floors are urethane coated. Brake fluid and urethane don't get along real well. I don't think anything gets along with brake fluid. But anyway, just leave this in place as long as you can, and then have rags and stuff in place to catch what finally does drop out once you get ready to make the swap over. All right, once again, that's the driver's side with the disc already installed. We've got the brake line coming down there. Spin around over here. Those are the parts that we actually had taken out. And as we come around to this side, you can see the mess that we've got in the way of tools to clean up this morning. Yeah, there's a few tools left in the toolbox, but not many. We've got the right side put on. brake line and everything runs. So at this point this morning, we're going to start putting the master cylinder in place and trying to get it plumbed up. All right, just want to show you what exactly we wound up taking out and replacing. Although this was all mounted as one unit, the discs, but we've got the kingpin here, and it obviously sits right down in there, slides down, and then the A-arm, or the I-beam I should say, actually attaches in this gap right here. Just to show you the extreme measures you have to take sometimes working on some of this old equipment. There is the passenger side spindle. Looks much like the driver's side. If I can do this one-handed, and that's where we had to cut it off with a Ziz wheel. We just simply could not, this area in here, we just simply could not get it to turn loose on the I-beam. So we cut it off and got that out of the way, and it gave us more room to use a sledgehammer and drive out the other pin from the bottom. So always keep that in mind, guys. You got to think outside the box, and a lot of times do some pretty aggressive stuff to get some of these old trucks taken apart. And of course, this is some of the stuff that we had left over in the way of old parts. Some of it we'll put up in case we need it later. Others of it we'll wind up throwing it away. But at this point, it's time to clean up. You guys hear the fans in the background, I apologize for that, but it's still quite warm. We've not got the air conditioner hooked up yet. So what we're going to do is instead of buying wire separators that seldom ever work, we're going to basically just make our own out of zip ties. Not terribly hard to do. You just take your time. There's 10 or 15 different people on the internet that tell you how to do it. But I will say this, these little clippers right here, I really like. I picked these things up at the Run to the Sun at Myrtle Beach back in the spring, and I never have had a pair of them. Of course, I've cut my hands many times on these zip ties, but these little dudes right here, they work real well. Start stringing them together. we got the other side really looking a lot better, a lot different, and we'll get to looking at it once we get both sides done. We got to get all of these pulled now into place. Get them a little bit better organized. And again, all I'm using is a Dorman 4" by 10mm zip ties. Along in there, it'll be fine. When you're working with this kind of stuff, you always want to leave you plenty of slack and then just gradually tighten it up as you're starting to pull everything into place. You don't want to tighten them all down at one time, because I promise you, you're not going to do it right the first time, and you're going to have some adjustment. Alright, see how floppy everything is, so we'll just gradually start getting the little buckles into place where we want them. Tighten up between the wires first. Once you have everything lined up like you want to, do that first, and then go back and work on tightening these up. And you don't have to pull it down terribly tight. I mean, the way these silicone wires are made and those plastic zip ties, they're gonna stick together pretty good. Alrighty, let's go back at this point and clean our tails up. Alrighty, may do that a couple more times on down there. In about 45 minutes, this is what we were able to do with the organization of the plug wires on this side, and we'll go around to the other. It's a little bit different just because of the orientation of the distributor, but again, just buying a pack of wire ties, kind of getting the wires started where you wanted them, laying them down, and maybe in some respects letting them fall where they wanted to. But again, that looks a whole lot better than when we started. So just a few minutes and basically a few zip ties. That's where we're at. This is the new assembly that we're going to begin to install. From, if my measurements and memory serve me correctly, from here to the tip is right at 18 inches. All right, we're going to step over to the Ford, and you can kind of see what we're going to be up against here. We've got the oil filter, dual relocation bracket and assembly here, and then right there we've got the master cylinder, which we're going to start to remove. So obviously 18 inches is going to carry us out into here. So we're going to take this loose, take it off. I may have to go back into short term with a regular oil filter. Sorry about that. Had a couple phone calls come in, but again, we're gonna take the dual filter relocation loose, take it off. Obviously due for an oil change, so we'll fix that. But we may wind up having to run just a single filter for the time being until we can get some of this other stuff taken care of. Also, too, if you look here, a great big hole. No radiator. Radiator is in the shop in a nearby city, getting repaired, and hopefully we're going to hear something on that. This being Saturday morning, I hope we got this thing headed back this way by Wednesday of this coming week. So again, we're making progress. All right, at this point, we're going to begin to take the oil filter relocation set up off the truck, because again, it's going to be in the way where I've got it mounted for the new master cylinder and brake booster. I really like these Russell fittings. It just makes assembly a lot easier, a lot better. Alrighty. Gonna have to get us a socket and a wrench. Drop that loose. Bear with me a minute, I gotta give you some room. Alrighty. This is probably going to be a pretty good sized mess just because these lines are full of oil, and then the adapter down there is probably full of oil. I've got a drain pan under there, but really not convinced it's going to do what I need it to do. Yeah, she's definitely due an oil change. No doubt about that. Okay, this pry bar is gross overkill for what we're doing, but we're actually taking the adapter off, and you'll see when I get it out. But there's two ports there with adapters, and we're just going to, this has got the right angle on it, so I'm just going to stick it in there and use that to spin it off of the block, as opposed to trying to get pliers and stuff down in there. You don't really have a lot of room to work with anyway. So anyway, don't do this install, do this uninstall. Else to do that. All right, now we're going to start taking the master cylinder loose. You can tell this is an old design because most of your newer stuff has got some type of a nut thing back here to help you hold, but please pay attention and be very careful when you're taking these lines loose. The last thing you want to do as you're twisting that nut is to twist this line, because you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to kink it to where it's no good, you're going to have to take it out and replace it, or you'll twist the ferrule inside and then it won't seal. So you just got to pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure as this thing is turning, especially when you very first start, that it's not twisting the line. If it is, then you got to do all kind of crazy things with a torch, and I really have had my fill of torches lately. Alright, we got lucky. This master cylinder was replaced about 3 years ago, so we're not changing the factory one, thank goodness. It shouldn't be that hard to come out. What we will have trouble with, though, is getting inside here and getting the pedal loose from this. I think ultimately I'm going to wind up taking the seat out of it just so I don't have to do more gymnastics inside the cab. 20 years ago that wasn't a problem. Again, I'm looking to make sure I don't twist the line. And in this case, I will be. It's not spinning loose from the adapter, so I got to get a wrench on that adapter. Almost positive we're going to need this adapter over there on the new. All right, as you can see, it's a fairly new master cylinder. We'll lay it on the shelf. Don't know if we'll ever need it or whatnot, but we'll have it if we do. Again, we'll measure this right here, and on the new one over here, it's adjustable, so we'll set it in the ballpark of what this one is, and that way that'll get us a good starting point once we get the new one mounted back up. But that's what it is. I will say this, getting that pin out, because we have left the original clutch pedal in here. Again, this thing came out with a 3 on the tree with a 266 cylinder. We've left the pedal in there all these many years so we wouldn't have to remount it, but getting this out with that clutch pedal just kind of hanging free, that was a little bit of a battle, but we got it done. Work on those cabinets over there, and then we'll see where. I think at this point we'll probably stop this video. As you can see, we've got the booster, master cylinder mounted, front brakes are mounted. We still got to hook up the brake lines. Got to go inside the cab and hook the linkage up in the pedal, and got to run the vacuum line for the booster. Not a lot of things, not nothing major, but it's just a few little loose ends that need to be tied up on this. So we're going to stop here. We're still waiting on the radiator. We got some cleaning up to do, some sanding and painting and detail work. We're going to continue with that, but need to stop the video here before it gets too long and just kind of seems like a run on. But I do appreciate you folks stopping by and spending a little time with the channel today. Just excited about getting ready for the car show. Again, we're going to be in Pigeon Forge for the Ford Super Nationals late in September. If you guys are up that way, by all means, please stop by and see us. Be glad to meet you. Be happy to do that. We enjoy talking and interacting with folks, but I'd like to have some faces to put with some names. But nonetheless, we're going to continue on the next video. Hopefully radiator detail work and a few things we're going to clean up in the cab. So again, thanks for stopping by, and as always, God bless.